Welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about end behavior of polynomial functions. We will have two types of polynomial functions, an odd degree or an even degree. Also, the function could have a positive leading coefficient or a negative leading coefficient. The leading coefficient is the term or the number that is next to the highest power in the polynomial equation. The end behavior means where is x going to and where is y going to. So the first part, we're going to look at odd equations. So an odd equation with a positive leading coefficient. So if you look, you would see that x is going toward the positive. We can say that x is approaching positive infinity, and y is approaching positive infinity as well. If you look at the bottom portion of it, we'll see that x is going toward the negative. So we can say that x is approaching negative infinity, and we can see as well that the y is going down or going toward the negative infinity. If the degree is odd again, but the leading coefficient is negative now, what happens is that the direction flips. The left side still faces up and the right side will face down. Or we can say again that x is going toward the negative. So x is approaching negative infinity. And y is going up. So we can say that f of x is approaching positive infinity. If we look at the bottom portion, we can see that x is going to the right. So it is approaching positive infinity. F of x, which is the y, is going down. So it is approaching negative infinity. Okay, so now let's look at the even functions when the degree is even and the leading coefficient is positive. In this case, we have the end functions is facing up in both sides. If we look at the x, we see that it is going to the right. Again, it is the positive direction. So x will approach positive infinity. If we look at f of x, we see that f of x is approaching also positive infinity. In the left-hand side, we see that x is going toward the left, approaching negative infinity. The y is going up, approaching positive infinity. Now, the degree is even, but the leading coefficient is negative. And there you go. We look at both sides facing down. The first one is x approaching positive infinity, while y is going down, approaching negative infinity. In the left-hand side, x is approaching negative infinity, and y is going down, and it is approaching negative infinity. So in conclusion, polynomial functions will act two ways. If they are odd, one side will face up, the other side will face down. If they are even, then both sides will face the same direction. If the leading coefficient is positive, both sides will face up. If the leading coefficient is negative, then both sides will face down.